guys, bman here. How are you guys doing today? Today we've got this, my awesome god mode sorcerer build. It's updated and now I've got it for you guys for torment mode. So I haven't got any gear or any items in this build from torment mode, so you can build this mode, this all in nightmare mode, world tier 3, and able to get into world tier 4, guys. As you see right here, or right here, we're level 65 in torment mode against a level 73 boss, and we can just stand there and not die. The bosses can't kill us or anything, guys. It's absolutely crazily overpowered and everything, guys. Now with this, I've got quite a bit of gameplay here and everything. This is going to be a long video, guys, so I can explain this build properly. So with that said, let's get in and explain to you guys how to use this build and all of that, and my reason behind all sorts of things as well, guys. So as you see right here, we're in a level 70 dungeon, the one that opens up torment mode. And there you see right there, we just used the Ice Nova to make everything vulnerable, right? So that is a cool part for that. That's why we have Ice Nova, because it freezes everything and makes everything vulnerable, which is awesome because it's a massive damage boost for killing things in really fast, like you've seen just there. We just killed one of the big bosses in the level 70 dungeon when we're only level 64, just easy without anything. Now we're going in and we show you this build destroying the boss. And as you'll see right here, there's lots to talk about here. As you see, we've got so many barriers on for a starter, so we don't even take much damage at all, right? That's number one. As you see right here, look at all our electric balls that come out, but they stay around us and hover around us instead of going in a straight line. That's because of an aspect we've got. Then you'll also see that when we take damage, we take hardly any damage. That's because of so much damage reduction that we've got. Because of our build, we'll get into those things too. But take note of that. And then you will also see is that we've got so many barriers, but when our barriers are not up, when we take damage, our health regenerates so fast, it's not funny. It's absolutely game-breakingly broken, guys. Nothing can kill you. It's awesome. The more enemies attacking you and around you, the faster you heal. It's absolutely game-breaking, and as you see here, it's just broken. With that said, guys, that's why there's so much to this build and it all works together. Your fire shield that we've got also makes it so you can get out of stun and all sorts of stuff like that, guys. And as you see here, you can focus on one enemy and you can ignore everything else around you while all your abilities just destroy them for you. Now the more you, and the only attack I'm really using here is basic attack, Arc Lash. The more Arc Lash attacks I do with this build, the more damage reduction I get and all sorts, guys. It's absolutely awesome and it's a god mode build. This was the world tier 3 boss, simple as, easy as, and now we'll quickly show you guys it against the elites, guys, in world tier 4. So now we're in world tier 4, and as you see right here, it's still god mode. We're in world tier 4 and they cannot kill us. We're only level 65, world tier 4. The room's full of elites. Yes, guys, this dungeon with 2 rooms full of elites like you see right here still exists, and I'll show you guys where this dungeon is at the end of the video. But with that said, guys, as you see here, you can just freeze them and work away. I brought up the chat by accident here, pushing other things. Doesn't matter. I don't die. We're in full god mode, guys. It's absolutely awesome. So if you weren't sold on this already, you must be by now. This proves the full-on god mode. Room full of elites in Torment, the hardest difficulty, level 4, and no problem. Pools of acid and everything, and we just go through it all. With that said, let's get in and show you guys all the stat side of stuff and all of our aspects and the perks and our paragon points and all of that stuff. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Before we do that, get over there, smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, leave me an awesome comment. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Okay guys, let's get into the build. Now, ignore all of these ancestral stuff here. They're not part of the guild. There's no ancestral stuff. I've just run the dungeon that I'm going to show you guys to go and run. I've run it about 3 times since I've just gotten into this world, and I've gotten this much ancestral gear, guys. It's absolutely awesome. But with that said, guys, let's get into the full-on build. Now, the main core of this build, guys, is the fact that we're applying burn and chill to absolutely every single thing that we attack, guys. So absolutely everything around us is both burning and got chill on it. Okay, keep that in mind. And how we're doing that, what we've done is we've gone and we've got these basic skills right here. So you've got your basic skill tree, right? We've got 1 point into here into frostbolt. We have 1 into firebolt, and then we have 5 on arc lash. We've got these 2 here, but the 2 important ones for what we're talking about right now is the firebolt and the frostbolt, right? Because of their enchantment effects. Now, those enchantment effects are not automatic and not automatically applying. You have to slot these into your skill assignments for those enchantment effects to work. So to do that, you come down to here to skill assignment, and you choose both these 2 here, and you slot them into here. So you'll grab it and you'll slot it in, and then that gives you that enchantment. Don't slot other ones, slot these ones for this build. Why? Is so that you've always got everything burning and you've got everything has chill, right? Awesome. Now that you've got that, we can now get into the rest of the entire build, guys. Now, how we're going to do this is we're going to go over the stats so that I can explain the different things and the purposes of different stuff. Then we'll go over the gear and the aspects that we're using, and then we'll go over the ability skill tree and the paragon boards and stuff like that, guys. So with that said, let's get straight into it. We've got the materials and stats. Okay, so our stats, we're only level 65, as you guys already know. Strength is not something that we need to worry about. What we're worrying about is our intelligence, as you see here, and it increases our damage. Skill damage increases the elements. So we're really heavy on intelligence and willpower and dexterity, because that's our critical chance, which is always good. And then you want this because this is our healing and received. So our willpower we focus on because that does healing received, which we're a real healing build. So that's always the one. So we really want lots of willpower as well as intelligence. Now for our damage, as you see, I'm using my basic attack, so I actually really want attack speed on my basic attack. So I go for that, I go for attack speed. Now for this, what you want to really go for is vulnerable damage for this build, because when you use the Frost Nova, you make everything around you vulnerable with this build. So if you have a high vulnerable damage, that's the last multiplier of all your guys' damages. So that will multiply your entire damage and then multiply that. So if instead of having this overpowered damage, I have it on the vulnerable damage, I would be doing way more damage, guys. So if you can focus on getting vulnerable damage, you will make it absolutely crazy powerful whenever you use your Frost Nova skill. Okay, so I should be getting rid of it here and putting it here, but I obviously don't have this at its best yet. That's what I would change. Then we have damage to chilled. Now I have a high focus on this because absolutely everything that I attack, once I attack it once, then it becomes chilled. And then from then on, it's chilled. And all my damage has obviously got a 86 times more on top. Damage percent. Awesome on every attack. That is awesome. Then we've got the frozen. I don't focus on that as much as the chilled, because the chilled obviously is everything, and frozen is less often and not as useful. So I focus on chilled with this build. Then we've got damage close, which we focus on because everything's just close right up next to us, and we're using our arc lash. It's our main attack. So that again is another really good stat to focus on. Distant, not so much, but it's also something to not ignore, because a lot of our stuff, as you've seen, is doing a lot of distant stuff too. So it's also doesn't hurt. Burning is another main focus one. I haven't got that yet because I'm not on that paragon yet. As you'll see, I'm on the paragon for my chilled, so my chilled is way up the gate, and when I get to the burning, that will go up the gate too, and then my back damage will just go crazy even higher. Okay, but these two here, chilled and burning, are going to be our major damage multipliers. Then we've got damage with fire, damage with lightning, damage with cold, poison, shadow. Basic damage way up there because our basic attack is our Archlash, and that's what we're using. Then we've got damage with frost, not so worried about. Damage with crackling energy because we're actually always using that, and that's pretty cool for spreading our fire too. Then we have our maximum health. Okay, so I have focused heavily on getting extra health, as you see here. 3.5 maximum life using the red rubies. Now that is because you will see when we get to our abilities and stuff that our healing amount is based off our maximum health. So the more health we have, the more that we can heal per second, guys. So it's absolutely crazy. So the more health, the better, the faster we heal. So also the more health that I have to chunk away, but the faster our health comes back. It's crazy, awesome. Then we've got potion, that's irrelevant. We never use potions, as you really see. All healing, we got increased healing received from all sources. So that's why I have a lot of these healing received skulls into here, because they increase the healing received from all sources, not just potions, but your per second. So things like here, we have heal for 76 per second for every close enemy, and that's capped at 303 life per second. But soon you'll see later on that there's other things that are not capped, and you'll see that's why I can just out heal. But we'll get to that. Life on kill 92, because this here is giving me life on kill, which is pretty cool. It's handy. Life regeneration 35. Then we got armor, crazy armor, because I've got armor into here. So I've put the skulls into my armor to add armor on, because armor is 50% of your entire damage contribution. So if you've got high resistance and low armor, they're still going to destroy you. So you need your armor way up there. I've focused on trying to get really high armor stat, as you see. So armor is a priority for me. If I can get it, I do, and I'm pumping as much armor in as I can wherever possible. Also here I'm adding extra armor. I'm adding an extra 45% armor, as when I sit there chunking away at them with my Archlash, every hit I gain, I'm gaining and stacking up armor and all sorts. Armor's a big thing for this build. Focus on armor. Dodge chance, not so much. All these are not so much important because you've got your armor, and then you've got these other resistances which are pretty good. And poison is one thing that destroys us quite a bit, so I've upped the resistance for that. Mana is what it is. It heals. You'll see it will come in. It comes in more when we're around the burning, when we kill burning enemies. You'll see later on. Cooldown reduction, you really want to go for this. I would ideally want a lot more of this, so that my defense shields can be ready just that little bit more. But so I'd go for try and get this at about 15 to 10% ideally. And yeah, with that, that's all the stats, guys. Now let's get into the gear and explain the gear. Okay guys, now the gear we've chosen, all of this gear can be obtained in World Tier 3 Nightmare Mode. You do not need to be able to get into the 4th world to be able to get this. This was the gear I used to beat the boss to get into this mode, and this is how I've got it. I haven't changed the gear since being in this mode for this video, so you guys can see the guide. With that said, let's go over the gear. Now, the gear that we're focusing on is really mainly just focused for, as you see, basic attacks, attack speed, and while burning, while frozen, etc. All of that, and trying to increase your armor, your intelligence, or your willpower. Okay, dexterity is cool because it increases your critical hit chance and armor. But for this, it was all about the aspect, and that increases our armor. And then the gem we've used is increasing healing, and we've explained why. And then we're going for more health. We've explained why. That increases our healing. We'll show you more later. But our aspect is damaging to an elite enemy, grants you a barrier. Okay, now this is one, barriers. These barriers are a really big thing for this build. So this is one thing you want to take note of, and you want to make sure you have this, because any extra thing that can create a barrier is perfect for taking on bosses and stuff like that, main end boss and stuff like that, because barriers just stop you taking any damage. They're awesome, they're overpowered, use them. Now then we've got here shock skill damage. If you can get shock skill damage, use it, because that is our main damage thing is a shock skill. So use that, it's always going to be the best. Damage reductions and everything, it all goes without saying. Then here we've gone for chain lightning, because well, that's one of our main damage outputs. Is I'm using both left click as my main arc, and I'm always tapping right click. When I've got mana, I'm throwing out chain lightning. As much as I've got mana, I'm throwing out chain lightning. So as much as you can put onto that, you'll see it's our real damage bam. It slams, it's a real damage doer. So we use chain lightning quite a bit, so that's why we've gone for that. You deal 33% more damage to mobilize stunned or frozen enemies. Now the reason we've gone for that aspect is because of this aspect right here, and with our flame shield that we're using, lets you move through enemies, and when you move through them with flame shield active, you immobilize them. So this right here goes really well with this, because as soon as you immobilize them, you get 33% more damage towards them. So that's, those two go together really well. So I've got those two on there. This one, basic skills grant extra damage reduction, so that's why we can just tank everything while we're sitting there using our arc lash constantly, because we're getting extra damage reduction, extra armor, extra health, barriers, and everything, guys. So that's why we're doing that one, and we've got extra damage on that. Again, got the healing received, and then we're going for more health, as you see there, because more health and more healing is all this build is about. Armor, health, and healing. Then we've got to here, we've got our cool aspect that makes our ball lightning travel around us. Ball lightning orbits around you, but its damage is decreased by 11%, so that's a really good aspect for that stuff. And then we're adding in the basic skill damage gem, and we're going for basic skill damage and to chilled and burning or close enemies. All of those aspects we're all going for, right? And we're using a dagger. And we're using dual weapons here, because then we get two aspects instead of just one aspect. Now, and I'm finding it's a lot better because we get a lot more stats coming along. More options, more better for me. So for this works out for best for me. So then I'm using this, I'm using a focus, and we've got it again. We've got a gem for basic skill damage, but we've imprinted it with critical strikes for skills, increased skill attack speed. That's not the best one for this. I'd rather put this one into it, so I'll put that into it, but now that I'm getting into the higher tiers, I won't need it. That's what I had for this build, but the reason I had this mainly is because it's basic skill damage. It's reducing the cooldowns, which I really like, and the life on kill and the intelligence, right? Now this one here, we've got deal 18% increased damage whenever you have a barrier on, which we always have barriers on, so that's just absolutely awesome. We're adding armor on, damage to burning enemies, close enemies, critical strike, they're all bonuses that all add on to us that we love. This one here, while unstable current is not active, your shock skills have a 9% chance to trigger a free cast from it. So that's why when we're doing Arc Lash, you'll see sometimes we'll cast a ball, lightning ball, or we'll cast another one, or any other random shock, and it will just happen quite often. That's because of this right here. So this is what does that, and that's pretty OP and it's awesome, so I use that. It's up to you whether you want to run that or you want to run something else. Now this one here is all our healing one. And the reason I've got the healing in here, this healing aspect comes normally on, I think, either helmets or jackets and that, but I've put it over onto an amulet because the effects when you put them onto an amulet have an extra, extra 50% on top of it. So say if it was 10, added 10 health, when you put it onto an amulet it would add 15 health instead, so they're better. So for that reason I wanted way more healing, so I added it onto an amulet. Now for this aspect, heal for 76 life per second for each close enemy. up to 303 life per second, guys. Now, that's OP when just in itself, but that's capped at 300 life per second, right? Well, there's another thing that's not capped. We'll get into that soon. But as you see, this is pretty OP, but with the other one that's not capped, they end up game breaking, as you see, in your like God mode. Now, let's get into that. We've got our whole build, and that is the total build. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Now let's get into the abilities, guys. Now, for the abilities, as you've seen, we've got these ones in the basics. Right, this is our main building. That's all we're spamming that, holding this down, and then whenever we've got mana, we're spamming this out, right? And this spreads out to everything, so this is awesome, as you've seen. And usually I'll attack with this, and then I'll run at them while they're at a distance, and then when they're close enough, they're attacking with this, right? And this is spreading to everyone around them and everything, and it's just awesome. They work together really well. Then we've got Flame Shield. Now, Flame Shield, as you said, we've also got that more to evade things and to block big damage things for bosses and that. So we used it for the end boss and stuff like that. This was really useful for that sort of stuff. But when you get frozen or stunned or something, say, now that's really useful. So when we use this right here, right? So lightning surges for you within you for 10 seconds whenever you cast a shock skill. And sometimes you'll activate this, but then you're in amongst a big bunch of elites, and then they'll just freeze you. And then you can't be using your shock skills to activate this off and get the most out of this. Well, that is why this is so useful to have. So I have that there, because if I activate that and I get frozen, I activate Flame Shield and it unfreezes me. And then I can also move through everyone. Because of this, it lets me move through everybody unhindered, and it takes off that thing. Then it also immobilizes them all, causing me to do way more damage to them all, and then this can just power out, and I can just power that out. So I can just power that out anytime, even if they're trying to thing. So they just work really well together. So, okay, so that's why we've got the power into Flame Shield, and we use Flame Shield. Then, after that, so you've got this 1, 5, boom, boom. Got 7 into here. As you see, you can see what the item contribution. I've got items contributing some skill points here. I've got 2 into here because this gives you a chance to reset your cooldowns for your Ice Armor and your Frost Nova, which are really good. Any chance to get this act up sooner is awesome. This is a lifesaver. It does a lot. Okay. Then we have this here, killing enemies frozen by Frost Nova, and we've got our Frost Nova. Okay, that's our makes everything vulnerable source to make everything vulnerable, because here killing enemies frozen by Frost Nova reduces the cooldown seconds of up to thing. So that reduces these other cooldowns if we kill things. Then we've got this here. Frost Nova makes enemies vulnerable, okay? And that's what's making everyone vulnerable. So that's why you can use your Frost Nova and this to make your other things do increased damage. It's way awesome. They just work really well together. Then we've got our Ice Armor. As you see, our Ice Armor goes without saying, it's just armor, and then damage against vulnerable enemies, because everything's vulnerable, contributes 15% more to Ice Armor's barrier, and everything's vulnerable around you because you go into a circle, you blast Frost Nova, then you just blast Ice Armor, and then everything can contribute to it way more, and it just synergizes awesome together. Then you put 1 point into here just to get to here, and we have 3 points in protection, because using a cooldown grants 30% of your maximum life as a barrier. Again, barriers. Barrier, 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 barrier. Get that into your head. Barriers save your life. That's this build. Barriers and life regen. Okay, so we get more barriers. So we've got a whole heap of barriers. We've got a barrier here. We've got a barrier here. We've got another barrier here. We've got other barriers when we attack elites and so on. Okay, so we've got heaps of different barriers, triggering barriers now, okay? So we've always got barriers up. Then we have this. We have 3 ranks into Icy Veil, because your barriers have 15% increased duration. Barriers, barriers, barriers. Okay, then here, while you have a barrier active, you apply more chill, because why not? Barrier. I just had some spare points, so I put them there. You don't need to put those into that one if you don't want to. Now, then we've got over here, we've got 1 point into here, and then we're coming over to this one, Devouring Flames. Devouring Blaze, sorry, you deal 30% increased critical strike damage against burning enemies. If they're also immobilized, which a lot are because of our flame shield, this bonus is increased to 75% damage, and everything is burning because of our abilities. So this is crazy. Put that on. Then we get this one here. Critical strikes with shock skills have a 5% chance to form crackling energy. I just put one into here, and as you've seen, it gets a lot of crackling energy. That's all you need, is one into there, and you'll just have enough. You don't need to go any further with that. Then we've got here, we've got Permafrost, and frost skills deal 5% increased damage, but that's irrelevant. We just want to get to this. And I would put another one in here if I get some more skill points, which I can do if I do my Renowned. I haven't done that yet, but we've got 2 into here. You deal 6% increased damage to chilled, and absolutely everything is chilled. So obviously this applies to absolutely everything after we've hit them once. From that point on, they're chilled, or if we hit them with Frost Nova or anything, they're chilled, and we're getting damage increase. So that's awesome. Then this is where all of our life regen comes in, guys. Everything around us is burning because it's all getting burnt, as you've seen. Now we get into our cool life regen. Killing a burning energy increases your mana regeneration by 10%. Now, if you got spare skill points, you can pump them into here and pump this up to 30%, so you got way more mana, and you can pump your lightning out faster, etc., etc. Alright, then we're going we just put a point into that and that so we can get over to here. But this one here, Endless Prey, 1 point into here, it's just to get to here. This is the one that you want. This makes the whole build broken. Every 1 second you heal for nearly 1%, so 0.9% of your maximum health. 27.4 for each nearby burning enemy. Healing increased to 1.8% from bosses. There is no cap to that from there. So it's for each nearby enemy, uncapped. So if there's 20 enemies around you whacking you, you're getting 27 health per second from all of them. Times that. Yes, it's crazy, it's OP, and it's just broken, guys. And then that's multiplied by and affected by your healing received. So all your healing received increases that even more, guys. And with that ability, what that's also affected by is your maximum health. So that is why, guys, I have maximum life gems into here, increasing my maximum life, and I'm focused on healing received, because getting this right up means that it brings my life regen and back up really high, and makes this perk right here absolutely broken, guys. Okay, so now we've gone through that far. Then we've got our ultimate perk, which is the unstable currents, right? Lightning surges within you for 10 seconds. Whenever you cast a shock skill, a random core conjurer is passed. So that's why you just see, and they just power out everything. It's crazy. Okay. Then we have this increases our attack speed by 25% when it's active, and crackling pulses. So those just all work well. We've got 3 points in that. Then we've got this one here, 3 into this, because that's how we get all of our critical strikes, because we're always using structural, that's all we use. So that just builds up until it hits a critical. So that's how we get all our critical strikes. Awesome. Pump that up. And then we're running Varl's Mastery. Close enemies take 10% increased damage from your shock skills and deal 20% less damage to you. Big thing. Critical strikes increase the bonuses by 25% for 3 seconds. Big thing, because we're always getting criticals because of this. So that is all of our skills that we've got. We've also got, yeah, that's the skills. Now we can get on over into the paragons, guys. Now the paragons are quite a big thing, guys. Now I've only got 2 boards in, and ideally I can't wait to get the 3rd board in, because that would be the burn one. So we've got the starting board in, And then we've got the second board. The second board that I chose was the ice one, and it was the cold one. It was all for ice and cold damage, for chill damage, because our build applies chill and applies burn to absolutely everything after we've touched it once, right? So anything that affects chilled enemies or burning enemies affects absolutely every single one of our attacks. So with that in mind, guys, we've gone along, and our glyphs that we've used, we've got 2 glyphs, right? Now, we've got one here, this one here, that we're using, and I've got that over here. Dealing fire, cold, or lightning damage, which we're dealing in absolutely everything, but normally lightning damage, to an enemy increases all damage you deal to them by 5%, or 10 seconds, stacking once per element, so everything increases. So it's just awesome, it's overpowered. Then, guys, our other one here that we're using is this one here, which is this one right here, Flame Feeder. And that one there, 17% damage to burning enemies. So once they're burning, we're getting that. Then on top of that, you deal 10% increased direct damage to burning enemies. So right here, we're getting an extra 27% just off this thing here alone for that, right? But then if we zoom in, all these other things we've got. So we've started here, we've gone up. We're focused on intelligence, right? And then we've got our non-physical damage bonus. Then we've got this one here, non-physical damage bonus, 20%. Maximum life, I'd grab this one too when I've got an extra point, because maximum life helps our healing. So that's how much healing we get per second with our build. Absolutely breaking. We want to get as much of the health once as we can. Then we come up, we do just the minimum that we need to get the requirements to be able to get your extra bonuses for your thing. So these are the ones that we chose for ours. Carry on up. And then we chose this board here, which was the cold board for Icefall. Now, ultimately, I'm coming up, and I got just enough in to be able to get this, affected. And we went through and got these main ones, right? Just the minimum that we need to go through. So then we come up here, and look, plus 7.5 damage to chilled. Right, then we've got another 15% damage to chilled. Then we've got another 7.5 damage to chilled. Then we've got another 7.5 damage to chilled. And everything we touch gets chilled. Keep that in mind. This is broken good, guys. And then we got all these reductions to chilled that we can do later on, but we haven't got there yet. What we've done is we went straight through to here, and we've come straight up to these. More non-physical damage, 7.5 damage to enemies chilled. 15% damage and non-physical damage to enemies chilled. 7.5 damage to enemies chilled. Physical damage, and just heaps of damage buffs. And I'm heading on way over to here. Killing a frozen enemy grants you 15% of your maximum life as a barrier. Then we're going to have even more barriers, breaking your build even more, guys. It's just going to be crazy. And then we can have heaps more healing. Way more healing. This is the ultimate board to grab for this. And then our next board is going to be not this one, but board of burning, because then we'll be able to get heaps of damage reduction from burning enemies, and all of those damage increases and everything apply to our build and will help increase it massively, guys. So it's just going to be massively all building up and adding on to our damage character and everything, while we can focus on our healing and just not having to do anything. We can out heal everything, guys. So with that said, guys, that is the awesome build. Make sure you guys get down there, smash that like button for me, helps my video out in the algorithms, and of course leave me an awesome comment. Share this with all your friends, and of course make sure you have an awesome day, eh? Now we'll get through and I'll show you guys a little bit more gameplay of this build right here in the open world in this tier. World Tier 4. We'll go and show you that the reason this is so good is you can just run around. You don't even have to use your skills, guys. You can just sit there. You don't have to touch the keyboard. You can just walk around and play with just the mouse, and that's what makes this build so awesome. Never have to touch a health potion or anything, guys. It's super easy. Obviously, if you want to move a bit faster, you could use your keyboard. If you had an extra button on your mouse, you can do it like that. But you just don't have to worry. When you're out in the open, you don't have to worry about healing or anything. Like, I'm a nightmare wheelchair for the hardest difficulty. And it's that easy. That is us, and we're way under leveled. Let's be honest, guys. So that is how simple this is, guys. Get out there, enjoy the build, and there's that random thing that sparks off, guys, that you see. See how everything's burning and everything, guys. This build is just absolutely insane. It's awesome in every single way, and you don't even have to use your spells. I'm running around in the highest tier. Don't even have to use a single spell. That's it, guys. Have an awesome day. Thank you guys for watching my videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you, man.